excited to see it. I just figured we set live while we talk, but
Cool.
yeah, I mean, I was watching through some of your reels earlier, or your TikToks earlier too, and yeah, man, I'm just excited for you to kind of keep knocking this content out. I think you're gonna get some good shit out.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing is, I mean, at least I now have like the equipment to produce the highest quality, right? I got the right camera, the right lenses, and all that, and you know, I understand how to use that equipment now, which like
Yeah.
a couple years ago, you know, I'm just going around with that Canon 6D and a 24-100 and just shooting on automatic, you know, and now it's a whole nother thing. But I think the interesting thing is, and again, is, you know, listening to Gary's book, right, is like basically like TikTok or Instagram or whatever it is, it's, you know, it's what is the, you know, is it the trending song? You know, is it the length of the video? Right? It's like figuring out those things, which I guess, and I don't know, you tell me, but is the way you figure that out is just by fucking sitting down and just watching what's popping off, I guess, right?
I think, yeah, there's a couple ways. I mean, one is just trying shit and see what
Yeah.
works, right? Another is, you know, and that's kind of been, you've already done it, right? So a perfect example is we noticed that when watching reels, the wildlife videos that did well tended to start with a guy putting the camera up to his eye, right? And so
Yeah.
now you started to do that,
Yeah.
right? So it's things like that. So it's like reverse engineering what is being done by other people who are successful, figuring out,
Right.
and then you think about like, okay, they're doing this and it's working. Why is it working? And then you can start to make some guesses, and then that allows you to, those guesses inform the content that you make, right?
Yeah.
And that can, like, I think that's really the key. We call it adaptation in ads, right? It's like just adapting we do it in ads where we take it from one brand. We see an ad that must be working or we just think is cool, and we break down what is happening in that ad by like literally writing out the words that are being said, or writing out the actions that are being done, and then take our brand and we translate it over to the stuff that our brand would be saying in the same format. And that is, I think, the single most important thing in like learning how to make better stuff. And especially with organic, with what you're doing, and with anybody posting on social media, I think that it's even easier because with ads, you can't really tell if it's a successful ad or not. You don't see the data. But with Instagram or TikTok, you know, you're able to see how many views it got. You're able to see how much engagement it's having in the comments. Like, you can tell if something is crushing. And so then, you know, okay, this is one I should take, break down, figure out what's going on with it, and then recreate a version of my own. There could be something cool for us to do while we're on here. We could look up one of your one of the people you follow, like if there's a guy you like, we could pull it up and just like try to find one of the successful ones, and then we can kind of break it down and figure out what's going on.
No, I think it's so interesting because like, and like we were talking earlier though, the thing that like also boggles my mind is that like if you look on our Backpacking Brothers Instagram, and then even on Backpacking Brothers TikTok, which I, you know, haven't I just started like being like, all right, I got to get back to that. But like the video that has done the best for us on TikTok, it's got like 2 million views, and on Backpacking Brothers, I forget, but it's in the millions or whatever. But it's literally, now we got high quality footage, right? Like fucking close-ups of grizzly bears, like slow motion animals. And it's like like I told you, it's the video of a black bear and a couple cubs on an iPhone. And you know, it's like, the funny thing is when I posted on Instagram, I just like picked like one of the most top trending songs, but like it's a terrible song. And my brother was like, dude, this is the worst song ever. I was like, I know, but
and it's the one that got 2 million.
Yeah, it's like, it's trending. Like,
we got to look at that. I would love to have you maybe just quickly take us through, like, and I say us, but quickly take us through what you're trying to do, who you
Yeah.
are, what you're trying to do, what the status of the, like, you have multiple accounts, like kind of go through just like where everything stands right now and what you've been working on. And then I'd love to maybe we just like can pull up, like I would love to pull that up, for example, and just like see if we can figure out what's going on there.
Sure thing, man. Yeah, so I mean, my brother and I started this Instagram handle, and then we're trying to turn it, a couple years ago, start turning into a company, Backpacking Brothers. It's since evolved into Backpacking Bros Wildlife. Originally, it was just hiking, going after best hikes and views, and seeing some wildlife. But then we both really fell in love with the wildlife photography, and really wanted to take that to the next level, become wildlife photographers, make a living off of it. And so we kind of try to make that transition a little bit ago, specifically towards more wildlife. But I think if you look at the scheme of things, a lot of wildlife photographers, it's just photography. And I think that there's still a lot to be had with the hiking world, and stuff like that. So we trying to do a little bit of keeping that in there too. It's not going to just be wildlife photography, but yeah, I mean, the end game is, do what you love, and we want to, and help people along the way, right? Because with the wildlife photography, like, I guess you're helping people in terms of like, you can help them in terms of like, hey, look at this cool animal that maybe people have never seen. But from the hiking stuff, it's like, man, when we would go on these trips, that's all I'd go on. I never been to this park. It's like, well, what are the best hikes? What are the hardest hikes? You know what I mean? And so like, from the hiking world perspective, it's like, that to me is easy. Like, man, we can give a ton of advice to anyone who's looking to go to a park they've never been to, and just figuring out how to get in front of that content in front of people. And so long story short, though, where we're at is like I said, we're kind of rebranding a little bit, gonna be changing the website as we're getting this whole vlog series going. We'll have like
on YouTube.
On YouTube. Yeah. Vlog series on YouTube. And we'll have like 4 or 5 episodes from Yellowstone, and then Lassen Volcanic National Park. And we'll also have another vlog on Alligator River Wildlife Refuge. And then in the fall, we'll go back to Yellowstone so right now we got enough vlogs to get through January, and
nice,
but yeah, we'll try to do one a month to start off. And yeah, I don't know. That's where we're at, I guess.
No, I love it. I think that's great. Yeah, we're just going to figure this out as we go, what we should talk about. But I think like that sets the stage. I feel like I have a million directions I could take it, but maybe let's just start with so is that $2 million view one, that's your biggest hit yet?
Yeah, that is. It's on TikTok, it's 2 million. On Instagram, let's see, I'll tell you how much it is, but it's our biggest one on Instagram as well. And let me find it real quick. Yeah, so on Instagram it's 1.2 million, and on TikTok it was 2 million. On TikTok, though, interestingly enough, I used a different audio. I used like an audio that felt more appropriate, like more National Geographic-esque. But so it still took off. But the one on Instagram has this horrible song.
I don't know if my audio will come through. Is it on Backpacking Bros or
it's on Backpacking Brothers? Yeah, and
it'll be on the Reels. Dang, that thing is still sick. I can't believe that didn't get really viewership.
I'm telling you, man, I'll go back and I'll repost that later, because I didn't use a trending audio song. I used a song that I wanted to, that I thought was more fitting. And that song also, part of the reason I chose that song from Gladiator, not only because it's an amazing song, but they shot part of Gladiator right there in that same area. So, I was like, I felt like it was appropriate. But I know I don't know. I would have still thought it could pop off.
Isn't it this one that we're talking about? But this one's the one.
It's keep going down. Keep going. Oh, there it is. Right there. Yeah.
You can't hear that audio.
No.
Well, I see what you mean. But honestly, I thought that audio, I remember seeing this video with this audio, thinking it was pretty perfect, honestly.
I mean, it works. It totally works, you know, especially with the beat.
Really well.
You know, and I wonder though, I think part of the reason this video did so well on both platforms, especially now that I'm looking at it, is okay, you've got 3 cubs that are just adorable. But one of the things, and I think we kind of talked about, is like, does the video spark conversation? So as you see that bear, people weren't sure. Some people weren't sure, is the bear hurt? Is the bear stomping? So, you know, there's this thing that bears will do called stomping. And a lot of people were saying, no, the bear was stomping. And then other people were like, I don't know, the bear looks hurt. You know what I mean? And so again, the fact that the video caused conversation, debate, right? Maybe that's why it really popped off.
Another thing that comes to mind for me is just not only the 3 cubs, but also the fact that they're in motion right at the beginning. Like it's got a lot, it's got really nice motion. You're moving with them, and the running is kind of a, you know, eye-catching thing. That's but true. Then I totally agree. The fact that people are talking about the limping is definitely big. Bear alert. We saw 18 black bears while exploring Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Bear alert. Have you tried bear alert again?
I haven't.
The first actually, part of your caption.
That's a great call. I haven't done that. I probably ought to do that again.
Let's see. Did you do it on here? Yeah, you did it on here too.
Bear alert. Yeah.
And I hear this audio. Interesting. The interesting thing about this is the audios couldn't be more different. Like
I know,
the audio
right?
on the TikTok version is like super chill, and the audio on the Instagram version is like really high energy. But look at the same trend, right? It's people talking about the mama bear being hurt.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty cool. And it's pretty cool that it popped off on both. I think that's just like a really good sign, or a really good like indicator that it's a good piece of content, right? Like clearly something about this is driving. And I think that those things all feel like good reasons. I mean, this is also, right? This is another thing that I've been reading about, is like, this is a outrageous statement. I mean, it's true, but it's like, damn, they saw 18 bears. Like that's a lot of bears, you know, like, just like making your hooks and your captions, as big and loud as possible, right? And saying outrageous things helps. Obviously, if you can do it in a way that you don't want to necessarily, I'm sure, be doing it just for the sake of being outrageous, but like, if it's something like this, I think that really works well. 1,300 comments, 39K saves. I mean, people just like this video. This is just a good video.
It's just so funny to me though, man. Like, because I just like, don't get me wrong, I think it's a cool video, but like, you know, I mean, now that you know, and again,
because you're talking like, okay, compare it to something like this. I don't know if this is photos or with the slow motion bear shots.
And like, even, I mean, that quality is okay, but like, I got some stuff that's even better quality, or I don't know. I'm sure, you know, as I go get more. Okay, or like, I mean, it's a bison, right? Different than a bear, but like, I mean, look at that. That's some high quality stuff right there.
Yeah, totally.
You know, I mean,
and no comments, right? So I guess that's an interesting thing, is like, okay, how could you repost this and do something to get comments? You know, like, I don't know. The first thing that came to mind was that woman that said you were too close, like saying, "Is this am I too close to this bison?" You know, things like that. asking questions like that get people fired up. Like people get heated about this idea of getting too close to these animals, right? So you could play into that to get some comments going into the captions. But like thinking of things like that could get that engagement, I think could be good.
I think the other thing too is honestly, it's a reminder of, again, so much of what you come across out there, you do your research, you do your homework, and you put yourself in the right place. So hopefully you get these incredible animal encounters. But what the animal actually does, or like if you come, like, I mean, come on, that's pretty dope, right? Like I got a coyote hunting and killing, but like that was chance, like
totally,
you know what I mean? But it's like looking.
That shot is so dope. You should open a video with that shot where the birds are flying, because that's exactly what we were just talking about with the motion with the bears running. The way the birds fly through is super engaging, I think. I would try I would almost say just take this exact video and open it with that shot.
Yeah, I'll try that
and 100%. See if that works.
Yeah. Because because you have but what I was saying was, right, it's like trying to find, like, if you can find, because sure, okay, maybe anyone with a good camera and a good lens could take a dope video, a slow motion of a bison, if you know how to, okay, like I'm gonna get low, I'm gonna get some foreground, you know what I mean? I'm gonna get in front of it so it's coming at me. Like if you know these basics, like anyone could go out and do that. But like, okay, then maybe is it getting like a specific bison behavior, right? Like, is it getting bison fighting in the rut when they're in the rut? You know what I mean? Like maybe it's getting stuff like that that'll really pop off.
Yeah, I think I sent you that. Which, I mean, you don't really have a ton of control over that, right?
Right, exactly.
Like, but I mean, so this is what we were talking about starting with the camera shot.
Yeah.
But this guy managed to get, I mean, that's
those are some incredible shots too.
But he's also so close to those bears.
Yeah. Well, and that's the wild thing in Alaska.
This is insane.
That is insane. Yeah, that's awesome. So the thing is, in Alaska, the bears there, the grizzlies, they say that you can get way closer to them than the ones in, say, Yellowstone, because those coastal brown bears, they have such a huge food source of salmon. So while they're both types of grizzlies, like they're technically the same kind of bear, but they're much larger, but you can get a lot closer to them because they are not out there foraging. They have such a huge food source that they're not as they don't get as aggressive with humans. But I mean, look, man, I see a lot of these photographers up there who are so close. I'm like, dude, I still be shitting my pants to be like, I've never been as close as some of these photographers are getting to these Alaska grizzlies. Now, when I do go to Alaska, you better believe I'll get that close.
You just have your bears be ready.
Yeah.
I wonder how many views this has. Let's see. It's this one, 920,000. So doing quite well.
Yeah.
A couple things that stand out to me here. I mean, I don't know about that transition.
I'm not crazy about the transition.
But one thing is, like, a lot of the motion on the images is interesting, which there's parts of the way he's doing it that I don't love. Also, I personally wouldn't want black frames like he does on a couple of these shots. But this, like, I'd probably, but he wants to show the whole photo, I suppose. But like, and also he's switching between video and stills pretty regularly here, which I think makes a lot of sense for a wildlife photography channel. You're seeing, look, people are reacting to how close. All of these people are saying this is so funny.
What are they saying?
This feels like oh, you can't see it. Oh yeah, it's very small. If not friend, why friend shaped? A lot of people are saying that. If not friend, why friend shaped, over and over. Like, you see it really a ton.
If not friend?
I think it's from, I don't know what it's from. Maybe like Finding Nemo or something. But it's like, it's like when you see something that is like a bear, it's not Finding Nemo because it's about bears almost always, but bears are shaped like a friend. They're fluffy and
but they're
huggable,
not.
but they're
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
friends.
I
They'll
see.
maul you to death, right? So, but
Right.
that's like a interesting. We call this social listening at Vayner, where
Okay.
it's go and read the comments and see what people are saying, and then take that. Like you could literally take this, if not friend, why friend shaped, throw it in a caption on screen or in the caption of one of your videos, and see if that maybe that drives engagement. Because people clearly know that phrase, and
That's
especially if
great.
it's a super
That's really
cute
good.
thing,
Yeah.
right? Um, and
That's
then
really good. I'll post something this week with that of a bear with that
totally,
exact line,
I
and
love that.
let's see if it flies.
For sure. And then look, here's another good one. Have you ever seen that video where it's the little girl and she's like, "Can I pet that dog?
Oh,
Can I
yeah,
pet that
yeah, yeah,
dog?"
yeah,
Like
yeah.
use that trending sound on your
That's
reel
good,
of
that's good.
bears, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like this is the kind of thing you want to do with any successful video that you come across. Is just go
Mhm.
and see like what's happening in the comments. What is he doing? Look, how many you both on both of your Instagrams, you both have this many captions on your successful videos, right?
Yeah.
Or not that captions, I mean hashtags. So something about that is, it that's always the age-old question. How many hashtags should I use in a video? And
Yeah,
well,
ain't
you've
that the
got
truth?
2 examples of it working with a shitload of them,
Yeah, yeah.
which is interesting.
I know it's funny because I would look, and I don't know how right or how much this guy knows, but I'd see if you just he'll probably come up if you ever look on YouTube. You're like Google or YouTube,
YouTube?
trending, advice or whatever for Instagram. And this guy, his
Mm.
videos are quite obnoxious, but he, I've tried some of his stuff, but he'll always be like, "Oh, yeah, it used to be a bunch of hashtags. Now it's only 3." Yep, there he is, top
Which
guy,
guy?
the
This
first guy.
this guy,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
he's paying to be at the top.
okay. So he's always saying that, "Oh, the amount of hashtags change, right? Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, now it's only 3 or 4, now it's only 5." And I'm like, I don't know where he's getting this. Is he right? I have no freaking
Yeah,
idea.
that seems made up. I mean, unless he works at Instagram, which maybe he does, but I can't even imagine Instagram is sitting there like on their back end. Like if they use 4 hashtags, we're going to make them do
Right.
better instead of if they use 5. Like that seems kind of silly. I think there's some thought about like maybe they, like I think that there was a period where people were using so many hashtags that Instagram started to de-incentivize doing that by
Mhm.
making the videos not do as well if they had that many hashtags, right? And making it so that, because YouTube, right? YouTube is the largest or second largest search engine in the world after Google, right?
Right.
Because they are really good at SEO, so search engine optimization. So basically they know if you search advice for Instagram, they know who to take you to, right? And they
Right.
basically rank choice who's the best. So Instagram would like to be better at that probably. And when people are
Yeah.
just dumping a ton of hashtags that aren't like super relevant to the content that they're posting, it hurts the way their search engine works, right?
Okay.
So that may be a reason why they would be like, you should do only a few hashtags that are extremely relevant to the
Relevant.
content that you're posting.
That makes
But
sense.
but you have 2 like great examples right here of
Yeah.
a million views on yours. You have more views than that guy on that. I mean, his brand new, but a million views on yours and only and a million views on his, and you had a ton of hashtags. So I think you can take it
Yeah.
with a grain of salt. You don't need to overthink it. I would personally go with what's working. If
Yeah.
a ton of hashtag is working, I would just keep doing it until it stops working. I just had a thought here. You haven't posted the bears running in a field on Wildlife by Hayden just yet.
That's true, but I feel like so that video my brother took, so I didn't take that video.
Okay.
So I don't
Okay.
wanna put it on mine, and you know what I
Fair enough.
mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
It would be funny though, because that was now a couple 2 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's like or maybe on Backpacking Brothers, if I post it
Sure.
again, will it still fly off?
Yeah, I wonder, like, is there? Oh, this used to be on. Let me get back.
But I think the interesting thing is for example, with Backpacking Brothers, like it popped off, right? It got a ton of views, but it didn't necessarily translate into
right.
It's not like the following blew up.
Right. I wonder, like, okay, what if you reposted it and just had follow for more on the screen? Like, something like that. Like, what I would think about is, what is a simple test that we could do to see if it improves? Because I think that's the key. You got 1 million views, but I wonder on the back end, you might be able to look at how many followers you got from this post. It might have some kind of metric around that.
I can look at that for sure.
So you could measure it. You could say, okay, I am going to put, follow for more on screen. I would wait until probably like this point. It's like the back half of the video, last like 4 or 5 seconds of the video, have it come on, and just so it doesn't throw off the beginning metrics. I mean, that's a question too, is like, if you put some text here or here at the beginning of the video, would help it as well. But you're having so much success with this one that I wouldn't try to break it. I would worry about breaking it, I guess. But yeah, you could, once it pans over here to her, follow for more. You could even, God damn, there's so many things you could do, because you could point out the fact that she's limping with an arrow and some copy, right? Like, and that would probably get even more people talking about it than are currently talking about it. But then again, I don't know, maybe people are going to the captions to point that out. If you point it out, then they're not going to comment at all. It's interesting. That's the thing. You can make we could go down this rabbit hole for an hour.
Well, I'll tell you the thing that's one of the frustrating things specifically on Backpacking Brothers Wildlife. And now maybe this is because the initial following we started to build was geared more towards like us just out on the trails and hiking and stuff. But anytime me or my brother throw up a picture with either one of us, and then especially when it's both of us, over the wildlife, like those pictures pop off 9 times out of 10 better than like
this.
Or
I guess because you're saying with one of you. So
like if you scroll down, you can keep going because it's been so much wildlife stuff, but like some of our really good hiking pictures, let's see, keep going down to some of the ones I'm thinking of. I'm thinking from that trip to Oregon and keep going. Yeah, okay, go up a little bit. Sorry, I had you go too far. Start look at some of those, like 163. You know what I mean? Those just like 217 on that Christmas one, right?
While you have this dope photo of a mountain lion, you get 58. Yeah,
I know. So
look at that 558 because of the smolder. Also a carousel, which is interesting. I know you'll read in the book. Gary talks a lot about carousels. They're really big on carousels right now, and they're really big on text carousels. But what I think you could do is you could take, how you were talking about the doing some kind of a voiceover about the American West or whatever. You could do kind of like a bunch of wildlife images, but edit them like this, where it's like darker, so that you could put some white text on the screen in like nicely written font or whatever, and then tell a story, and it's a carousel that you swipe through, and it tells some kind of a story. That could be an interesting one to get some interaction from. Yeah.
I think two of the biggest things, and I was just talking to my brother about this, like two, we're both so obsessed with wildlife photography right now, but we got to remember we're trying to, you know, have more, like, we want this to be more than just wildlife photography. So we got to keep that in mind. And also the thing that me and him both have been bad about, which I think if you look at the people who are having a ton of success, is they have so much good BTS, right? And it's like, we got to get more BTS stuff, you know, engage directly with the camera more, which I mean is a big part of this vlog, right?
Totally. Yeah, that takes me to kind of what I was building out before we started, which is this kind of spreadsheet. This is kind of what we were talking about the other day, where you think of like, okay, content to capture, you got photo, you got video, you got horizontal, you got vertical, and just start listing them off, right? Like BTS over the shoulder taking picture, right?
Yep.
You probably want that in both. You know, like that's where, I mean, I think a lot of these you're probably going to end up saying both. But and actually, I guess, you know what it is you actually don't need it as a photo, probably. Maybe. I don't know. Do you think you need that as a photo?
I mean, well, I mean, yes and no. I think yes for depending, right? Yes for a vlog, because for the I think the best what do you call it? Like the little picture, the that you set your video on YouTube for, that so people see that picture when they go to click on it, right? Thumbnail. Thank you. I think the best thumbnails is like if it's a dope shot of like you with your big camera and layered over a shot of a bear or something. You know what I mean? So like that's kind of like a BTS picture of that. Or even just like to use for like, you know, to once in a while throw a picture on the gram of yourself, you know, with your gear.
For sure. And I would think of like listing it all out and getting a sense of what you need to be doing when you're out in the field, like having a sense of all the shots that you need to get for the different, for photos, for videos.
I mean, basically it's just like what we do when we're making a movie, get a shot list
100%. Yeah, get a shot list together. Totally. And I think that's the thing. I mean, that's being prepared, especially when you're going on a big trip. That's like you get one shot at having that trip be a success for your content capture. It's pre-production. I mean, that's what it is. Just making sure you plan before.
Exactly, right. And like it's like not only planning the shots. I think the thing that I did that was very successful for the last two trips that I went on, and finding the amount of wildlife I did, was again the preparation, the research, right? What are the best areas? Where are you going to find certain animals? What time of the year for which animals? You know what I mean? And studying the animal behaviors and things like that. Again, it's just like, it's all preparation.
Yeah, because you now feel like you could go to Yellowstone and you just know exactly where you need to go to get shots of a bear, or you even know specific bears.
Not just a bear. I know where to go for specific bears.
Yeah. What's your favorite bear?
I mean, there's still a couple bears in Yellowstone that I didn't get a chance to see that I do really want to go back and see, which I'm hoping to see in the fall. Again, I know the area they're in. I think my favorite bear I saw was this grizzly bear, the one that's on the opening right there. Her name's the top left corner. Her name is Beryl. And she had 2 cubs. Yeah, that's her right there. And she was a big old grizzly.
Yeah.
I enjoyed seeing her. You know, it's funny because one of the photographers I met there was joking and is like, Beryl gets boring, but Jam, this other bear that I saw, she's apparently, you know, I got to spend a little bit of time with Jam, but apparently Jam is a really cool bear to watch. Now I missed, you know, the most famous grizzly bear in the greater Yellowstone area, which is in the Grand Teton National Park, grizzly bear 399.
Yeah.
I kind of saw her. I saw her way far away. I wasn't unable to get any pictures or video that would be worth anything, but I'm hoping to see her in the fall as well. But that's the most famous, grizzly bear.
Yeah.
But
tell me about Beryl. What other shots did you get of her? Like of her? Did you get shots of the cubs? Like
oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah, I got a ton of shots of Beryl. I got quite a bit of her and her cubs. The only thing I would have liked to get more video, but it was such a quick encounter. Because by the time we showed up on the scene, she was right at the top of the hill when we got there, and then her and her cubs were foraging on this hillside, and they just kept coming down the hill, coming towards us. And then finally the Rangers, like, she was getting too close, and so the Rangers like made some noises, so Beryl and the two cubs went off. Again, ironically enough, I saw them in the exact same area the next day. They just were a little further away. But I would have liked to have gotten more video. The black bear, that blondish, whitish black bear I saw in Lassen, man, I got a ton of video of that bear and a ton of shots that I haven't thrown up yet. The cool thing there in Lassen is, like, right in Yellowstone, you have, people are there for the wildlife. So you got, you're at bear jams, you got all these people around. But you go to a park like Lassen where, like, they have black bears, but people aren't really there to see the bears. So, like, when I was out there, man, it was just me and Vanessa and that bear for a while. And then people would be like, what's that guy doing on his stomach over there with his camera? And they'd be like, oh, there's a bear out there.
Well, how did you find this one?
So I had done some research on, like, what areas the black bears hang out in Lassen. And ironically enough, we went out that morning to the first area, and it was a complete bust. All I saw was a woodpecker. And then we stopped at the visitor center, coming through the other side of the park. And I went and I was talking to the ranger, and I told her, these are the places I had, researched. And she's like, oh yeah. And this specific place where I found the bear, and I mentioned it, she's like, oh yeah, that's a great place. She's like, I see bears over there all the time. And then she's like, but honestly, I see them all throughout the park, like, all the time. And I kind of thought that's funny, because when you and I went to Lassen, we didn't see a single bear, but we weren't looking for them. Right. So anyways, she told me that, and I went over to this area, and, like, literally as we're looking and coming down the trail, we pass a guy, and he's like, oh, by the way, I saw a bear out on the field ahead. And I was like,
thinking you would turn around, and then you were like, no,
let's go. I'm going. Yeah. And so we went up to that field, found the bear, got some shots, and then the bear, like, kind of went off over this hill. And then we kept exploring, came back later in the day, and he was back out. And then that's when he was out. I didn't realize it, but Vanessa made sure to let me know that I had been there for 2 hours photographing and filming while she had to stand there. So she was a trooper. But I was like, really? 2 hours? She's like, yes, you had to have gotten the shots you want by now. I was like, okay, I think I did.
Yeah, fair enough. And that's what we were talking about the other day, is, like, the more you do it, the more you'll get your timing down. You'll know what you need to do. And especially when it comes to an animal on the move, like, I think that's going to be an interesting thing to see you develop, is, like, your situational awareness for what's going on with these bears, what shots you need to get. And, just really dialing that in is probably going to be what really starts to up level videos like this.
100%, man. I mean, and, like, the other thing is, like, like, I had spent so much time perfecting and learning the craft on the photography side, but like right before the Yellowstone trip, but I hadn't really worked on the videography side at all. And so, like, when I got to Yellowstone, like, that was kind of my learning ground on, like, and then I also realized too, after getting a bunch of footage, I'm like, man, I barely need any footage in regular speed. Like, the slow-mo stuff is so much better, especially for the vlogs. Like, and that's the fun thing, though, putting the Yellowstone vlog together now, like, editing all day. It's like, I don't know, Instagram, TikTok, it's short and it just feels like, and again, I know you need to think about it like you're telling a story, but it feels, I don't know what the word is, maybe like this sounds bad. But cheap, whereas like when you're sitting there editing this vlog in Final Cut, you know what I mean? It reminds me more of, and using your own music, finding your own music and editing it with dialogue. It feels much more so much more cinematic. It feels so much more like, hey, and maybe that's the way I need to start thinking about TikTok and Instagram, but it feels like I'm editing like when I would edit a movie. You know what I mean?
Well, this is what you're gonna see, I feel like, in day trading attention is, I mean, it is all about developing content for specific platforms in such a way that they fit that platform. So the cinematic nature of the video makes a lot of sense on YouTube.
Right.
Possibly based on what we're learning about your, the bear cub video, it's like maybe it's less about that on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
And a thought that I had while we were talking about capturing this bear and Vanessa's standing there, like, have her take her phone out and do a quick zoom and
Yep.
zoom in on the bear, right? And then you can test that and see if it does well. I mean, obviously you want to have a well curated timeline and everything, but like it's the other thing we were talking about the other day was this idea of you got to think of videos as having a video that's to hook people and get people to come to your page, right? So this video is your, we talk about it as acquisition, retention, and conversion. So you've got your piece of content that's for acquisition. Okay, this is the thing that's super native to the platform. It's super eye-catching. It's something that people will engage with, gets them to click through. Then I think where you can start to tell your story is within the feed itself, or building videos that are specifically meant to speak to the people that are following along with you, right?
Right.
So I think this video is a decent example of that, right? You talk to the camera, you're explaining. It's kind of like a mini vlog, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, what are you doing with those types of videos? You're trying to engage an audience that's already followed you. They're already, you want to make them more invested in you and your story by, I think like a good example, like I think when you were talking earlier about just the process of going and shooting that bear, it's like, I think you need to take that clip and layer it under shots of the bear. Or maybe it's a split screen top and bottom where you're talking. We just take this little square we have on screen here and you put the video of the bear underneath it. And you mentioned like getting more BTS shots. Well, you can do BTS by just explaining what was happening.
That's true.
The day you got the shots, right? And that is a kind of content where you're building your own brand. You're kind of, helping people get more invested in you and what you're doing and how you're thinking about things. And then you'll have, as we get, I think the next stage will be figuring out conversion focused content as well. Right.
Yeah.
And like, what are you trying to sell, if anything?
Right.
Like one thing I saw that you do here is, right, you have on Wildlife by Hayden, you have the link to Backpacking Bros. That's a conversion tactic as well, a little bit. It's like, hey, I need you to go through there and click and join and follow that as well, right? And then you're gonna be doing the same thing to get people to go to your YouTube page, right? So thinking about what's the objective of each piece of content you make, I think is gonna be like sometimes you'll have to do some little just photo or iPhone shots. I think they're worth continuing to try because they are things that help to hook people a little bit better.
And specifically in the wildlife game, man, like it's so funny because I was early this morning, I finally found another, I forget his name. I subscribed. I have to look. I finally found another wildlife photography YouTube page that like is pretty decent. And like, I was like, oh, this is some good stuff. Like, it's not as good as that one dude, Watts Wildlife. Like his stuff, I think is just levels above everybody else. Cause the thing I realized is most of these other wildlife photographers out there on YouTube, like the ones that, there's two categories in my opinion, right? You got the ones who are like giving like really good advice on the gear, right? And like on the craft of it, like how do you, your settings and what cameras they recommend, right? Like in my opinion, that's like one area. And then you have the guys who are like taking you along the journey, and like, it's like a borderline National Geographic thing where you're like seeing the wildlife. Well, the photographers who are doing the National Geographic style stuff, most of it just feels so unplanned. You know what I mean? Where like a majority of the video is just them babbling to the camera. And I'm like, dude, get off the camera. I don't need to see your face. Like, I want to see the wildlife. I want to see this build up, the story, and that's what that Watts Wildlife does so well. Is he gets you excited for the shot, for the, he takes you along the journey of getting the photograph, and not many other photographers out there are doing that. And then he's got the quality, quality of stuff too. And I mean, this
is what you were talking about on thumbnails, taking the long shot,
he's got great thumbnails,
layering it under. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Because then you got, and like he does some tech stuff as well, but his like vlogs, there's not many people out there I've come across that are putting together, and again, the other interesting thing is, like, for example, there's another photographer that does some really good stuff, but it's like, birds. And it's like, all right, like who wants to watch 20 minutes of bird footage,
Some people. Is it Wildlife by Hayden? Is that
our YouTube? No, it's Backpacking Brothers or Backpacking Bros Wildlife. But the only thing we have up there right now are that's it. Our two shorts, and like a video that's not very good that I threw up a while back before I even had my gear. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This video reminds me. Did you ever? I remember I sent you that video of the bison running. Did you ever try that?
I use it in Reels, yeah.
Okay. I was just curious because it's kind of a similar vibe to the cut cup one, and in it they're
all. I never posted it like just that, like solo. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I used it in Reels that did pretty well. I mean, did well for like, for Backpacking Brothers, not like millions of views, but in the thousands for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna change. I gotta go back in, and I gotta do that to the website too. Completely
prep all of this. Yeah.
Yeah, get it all reworked and stuff for the vlog launch and all that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think once the vlog's ready to launch, we should hop on and do another one of these.
Yeah, definitely, man.
I think that's what I'm realizing as we're talking it out, is like, I feel like we could do this over and over and over.
Oh yeah.
Like we can always find new things to talk about with this.
For sure. There's something just like, but it's a cool thing because, we're both, actors and filmmakers, and are coming from that more of a cinematic, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, cinematic side. Right. And I think for me, the thing with social media, I was like, I got no interest in like the influencer stuff, right? Like, I don't care to be an influencer, but like, I like to tell stories. Like, that's why we're filmmakers, right? We want to tell stories. And that, like today when I was sitting here and I literally was editing from like, God, I dropped Vanessa off, and then I literally have been editing since then. So like, I don't know, 9 to 2:30, and like, just sitting here with coffee and just like, I can't stop. Like the only reason I stopped was to go because I had to get groceries for dinner. Right. But like, I love that. You know what I mean? It's like, that feeling when we're sitting there editing a film, and it's like when something finally like a cut works, and it's like, oh, let's go.
For sure.
So dude, I'm so stoked if you're able to come to Yellowstone in the fall, man. We are gonna
blast.
We're gonna make some incredible videos.
Yeah, send me those dates again. I forget.
I will. I'll send them to you as soon as when we get done.
Yeah.
It'll be sweet.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I just say it's gonna be sweet too, because one of the main reasons I also want to go back in the fall is we have the moose rut and the elk rut. And I want some shots of I've never gotten a moose with a big old thing of antlers. And I want
Yeah.
that shot of that moose with the antlers and the Tetons right behind him.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that would be freaking epic. I don't know if
Totally.
that specific one's going to happen, but
let's make it happen.
I know where the moose are too. So
yeah, I think that'll be awesome. And I think we can plan the shit out of it and make sure we get some really great stuff. And then the other thing is especially as you start posting this vlog stuff and really over the next, because it's in November, right?
October.
So over the next like 2 months or whatever, like we should really monitor what does well, what doesn't, thinking about why,
100%.
And try to make sure that we have as informed of a approach as we can when we get out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you the weird thing, and like it's one of those things I can't quite explain, because it's like once I change my intention of like, oh, I'm going to a park just to hike, to like I'm gonna go find wildlife.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, there are days that are like you don't find shit, but like I mean it's like oh, okay, there it all is. Whereas like before, I'm like, I mean, literally when we went to the Tetons 2 years ago, we saw a couple moose on the trails, but we were literally camping in one of the biggest areas known for moose. And then when I knew that and just kind of went out looking, I mean, we found a ton of moose right by that campground. Last time I was there. So I don't know, man. It's so wild.
Yeah. Now you know. And yeah, I think that'll be really cool. I mean, I've only been close to wildlife because of you. But now you'll take me into the real stuff.
I mean, that encounter we had in Glacier, that's still the craziest encounter I've ever had. I wish I had my camera gear then.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, this was and this is so perfect. It's so right. Like it's this short video. Like I feel like all of us, this is about what we got. It was like a couple seconds, maybe a poorly zoomed in photo.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then this is a good one too, because it's got this controversy of people saying, is it a black bear or a grizzly? I don't know. Everybody seems to think it's a black bear. Is it?
No, 100% a grizzly. But also, like, I mean, dude, there's so many comments now, but there's so many people who are like, dude, it's 100% a grizzly. And I was like, guys, go look at the other video I posted where you see, like, because that video, it is tough to see the hump and stuff. But the other video I posted, like, look at that thing. It is so clearly a grizzly bear. Like that hump is not on a black bear. I can guarantee you that. Like that is no black bear. But to be fair, and the way the bear, it's such a short video, and the way it looks at that angle, you know, I could see how it could be. People could think it's a black bear, but no, there's no that was a grizzly bear through and through, man. It was a young grizzly bear, though. You know, it was probably now knowing what I know years later after studying and researching these bears, like I'm pretty sure that was a juvenile male. Good Lord, if we had come across like a freaking full grown male, or, you know, that would have been, I mean, even that juvenile was, I mean, he could still just, you know, really mess us up, kill us.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But, you know, yeah, that was a wild encounter.
Totally. That was a great time.
But like, look at the difference in those two. I mean, you know, one video, 4,000 views, the other one.
Yeah.
You know,
it feels like the motion on that is a big part of it. What's the difference in caption? Unexpected encounter with a grizzly. Stood our ground with bear spray. See how that's more dramatic?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That's just just an observation. No idea if it affected performance or not, but like stood our ground. That is really, you know, not messing around. So that's another thing to think about is like, how can I make this caption?
You know, they did an article, some wildlife magazine did an article on that experience.
Yeah.
And like, they didn't even tell
you were interviewed for it or no?
No, they tagged us, and like, they basically just took all the information I'd put on social media and put it in there.
Yeah. Interesting.
And like, Oh man, it's so funny that I on that article, one of the people commented was like, "Oh, they probably had so much food in their bags, and that's why." I'm like, "Actually, lady, we did not have food in our bags. Someone else did on the trail that we ran into and basically saved, but we did not. We're not idiots. We know what we're doing out there."
Totally.
But yeah. Anyways,
I think another piece that I noticed between these two is length. The other one is so short. And so to have it be short and controversial, that's powerful. I mean, same thing is happening with the Bear Cub one. I feel like it's not controversial necessarily, but it's driving comments and it's short. So people are sitting in the comments talking and the video is just playing on a loop, you know?
Well, and that, and you know, because I always wonder how much does the trend, like the trending song thing, like how big does that play? But both of them, I used trending songs that were trending at the time. So I don't know how much that plays into it or not, but because I don't know, this is my own theory. I look at accounts that have massive followings, and a lot of times they're using original songs. Sometimes they're using trending, but they're using our original audio and they're getting tons and tons of likes and views, right? But I wonder if using original audio only really works. I mean, if it's a very specific audio, like it's a wolf growling or howling, right? Like that probably is going to catch fire no matter what, I would imagine. But like, I think if you have a smaller following, I guess my guess is the trending audio makes a difference, but I don't really know.
We may never know. I think it is supposed to help the algorithm. It is supposed to help you in the algorithm, because they want to encourage you using other people's audios, because it's basically like, that's what builds. That's what gets the community activated and gets them staying on the platform, right? That's a factor in that. And so I think that's one thing to think about when you are making content is what is the goal of the platform itself? The goal is to get people to spend as much time on the platform as possible. And so that's why they reward if people are staying and watching your video over and over. And that's why they would reward trending audio. It's like what we're talking about with the hashtags and the search engine optimization, right? Like it's what goes into why something help or hurts your video. I think is something to think about.
Definitely.
All right, man, this has been a great hour. I do feel like we should do it again. I think that we can.
I'm down to do it, whenever you want.
But let's think, what were some things that we said you were going to do to test in this?
So I'm going to definitely go test taking, like, for example, that one video we were looking at, like that quote that everyone would seem to be quoting, right? The like for friendly.
Oh yeah.
I got to go look what that quote was.
If not friend, why friend shaped?
Right. Throw that in as like the caption to I feel like I ought to do it with a reel, no? Because reels have a better chance to get going, pick up steam.
I definitely think you should do it for a reel.
So do it with a reel. Definitely do that and see if that, gives a little ignite. What else did we touch on that?
We talked about reposting the Bear Cubs running with like a follow for more call to action on it.
Right.
Try you could say you could say follow for more amazing wildlife photography, right? Like something like that, or however you want to phrase it. But I think that would be really an interesting to test to see. It looks like you have posted it twice. And the second time you posted it only had 3,100 views. But try posting it exactly the same, like same caption, same everything, but with that
same song,
I think probably worth it. I don't know. You don't have to, but I think that would be, because I know you hate that song, but that would be the way to do it, where it's like I always try to maintain a control, and then make everything as identical except for the one thing I wanted to change, so that I can learn, did that thing that I changed actually affect performance or not?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I think that'd be really interesting, especially, make sure and double check and see if you can tell how many followers you got from that first one, because that's the metric
Yeah, I'll have to
we're
go
gonna see
look.
if it.
I'll have to go look.
But yeah,
Sweet.
yeah, let's keep a track of how those two do. Let me know, and we
Definitely.
will talk about it next time.
I think real interesting thing to see is once I get these vlogs going, you know what I mean? Get some episodes out. Hopefully they get eyes on them. Does that translate into, you know, more of a following on Instagram?
Yeah.
Because I was just looking at certain wildlife photographers, and if you go back, like, you know, do a little homework and you go back at their Instagram and you see, I've found on a couple of them, it's pretty clear that their following, their I guess likes or all that stuff goes way up when their YouTube stuff really got moving.
Makes sense. That's like one platform feeds another.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed is you have the blog, right?
Yeah.
You should start posting that on Reddit. Create an account on Reddit to obviously like focus on your vlog for now, but like that's, I feel like a next step is start going to, like, there's probably r/wildlife or r/wildlife photography, right? Figure out which one's the biggest one, and then just start posting blog posts once a day. How many blog posts do you have?
Not a ton.
Okay.
We that it's funny because I was talking to my brother. I was like, look, he's like, what do we want to do the blog? And I was like, let's get the vlog full steam, and then we need to come back and we need to get consistent with that blog.
Well, I think like with Reddit, what I think would actually be best is probably, okay, r/wildlife photography. You take one of your favorite photos that you got. It's the grizzly bear we were just talking about, where you kind of described what that day was like. And then you just write one paragraph about how you got the shot. Like, what was the process of getting there?
Great.
Right.
That's great.
It's really low lift for you to do, but it's also something that people will start to like notice and engage with. Make sure to ask some kind of a question in the paragraph. Probably the last sentence should be a question so that people comment. And just try to do that super consistently. And then basically what will happen is people will start to recognize you. Oh, this guy posts in wildlife. Who is this guy? And then they go to your Instagram. And so then it's just, they all feed each other. Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, dude, that right there, I think might be a game changer. Blaine, I'm writing the Reddit thing down. And like, I hadn't thought of doing the blog that way, to be honest. Like the way I was doing it was like way more like, it took a while, you know. It felt totally like literal, like writing almost a script, which
100%.
You know, is a real pain in. So I love that. But that's great.
Yeah, I think that could be really powerful. I'm gonna watch that very closely, because the Reddit thing is something that I figured out probably 6 months ago, and I've just been like stewing on it. Just like, if you learn how to leverage Reddit properly, it can totally blow up your other pages. You're not really allowed to link out to your other pages. You can do it on your own personal Reddit. So if people click through from your post, they'll see it, but you're not within the post itself. You're not allowed to like do any self-promotion typically.
Gotcha.
But it's a community, and it's just about becoming a recognized person in that community. And then people will want to engage with your other stuff. And I feel like it's a totally untapped strategy that could really, really help. So.
Well, and that's what it's all about, is okay, where's the untapped areas that you can you know, get your message, your story out to. It's so cool, man. I mean, this stuff fires me up. Reading this book, talking to you over the weekend, and working on this stuff, it's just like, oh man. I mean, you know, both of us, we always put in so much work into what we're doing, but like, man, I'm like, that's all I've been, you know, thinking about is like it's so funny. Like maybe like 5-6 months ago, planning that to go on some of these trips, it was like, all I could think about was like perfecting the craft and all that, which I still am obviously, you know, constantly working on. But like now that I'm in post-production essentially, and I have all this content, all this stuff to edit and put out there, it's like, I'm like going to sleep thinking about it, being like, I got to get up early and just get cracking, man. You know,
Yeah, dude.
it's fun. It's fun.
I love it.
But
Yeah,
like
it
that's
gets me
the thing.
fired up too. That's why I'm pumped to like start talking about it more.
Yeah.
I realized just from having those conversations like how excited I got about it.
Yeah.
And so now I'm super excited about this too.
And like I'm sure like everything, right? Like you know, it's like it's still work, but I don't know, man. And again, you know, maybe years from now I'll be like, oh yeah, it's not as fun, it's work. But like, man, is
Sure.
it I think it's fucking fun,
Yeah,
you know, putting it
totally.
all together.
This guy, I watched a video and he had a quote about that recently. I'll go find it. I'll send it to you.
Mhm.
I thought it was a pretty good way to approach it so that you hopefully don't get to that place.
Yeah.
To just remind yourself. It was like a mantra that he had. I'll go pull it up and send it over to you. But yeah, man, I think it's gonna be dope.
Actually, well, I can't speak now. I'm tired too, man.
Well, I appreciate you being the inaugural guest. I called it the Scaling Influence Podcast. Gonna play with that a little bit, but thank you for being an inaugural guest. We will follow Backpacking Brothers and Wildlife by Hayden very closely. And,
well, thank you, Blaine. I appreciate it. It was always fun sitting down and chatting about this kind of stuff too. Which
sure.
I'll say, I mean, this conversation just felt like a conversation. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Which is what you want.
That's the goal, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Sweet.
Which is why it's hard to end the conversation because you
Yeah,
feel like you gotta be
exactly.